The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.
Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, even if you might consider it. If you've joined us here, well, you've joined us with no substitutions, no driver changes, no commentator changes. It's week 3 here at Sim500. It's Circuit of the Americas. It's a track that, well, I teased it a little bit last week, but I'm a Formula One fangirl. I'm a lover of all things COTA. I'm a lover of the Maggots and Beckett's S's area, and surprisingly enough, I am a lover of the short track version of it, the West layout, as iRacing calls it, but nonetheless, it's the fun layout. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, here into this round number 3. Again, it's Circuit of the Americas, if I didn't say it. Big shout out has to go to Team Conti this week for providing the setup that these drivers in Sim500 will be using. And Andre, Kevin, I think a big shout out has to go to you all for being here this week. Good evening, my friends. How are you all doing?
Doing pretty good. Looking forward to some road course racing. I have seen a ton of COTA this week. I've been watching a couple other leagues that I'm involved in, did some spectating, obviously watched the real-life NASCAR race here, and so far, the track has not disappointed. It's been exciting at every turn, so I'm looking forward to it. How about you, Kevin?
Yeah, first time they've run the national layout of the COTA track for the Sim500 racers. One other race, Cup race, won by Austin Green, son of David Green, the NASCAR driver, and Austin's turn to wheel himself in the Xfinity Series back in January 2018, but that was the long version, and tonight we're going to see the exciting one, and dare I say, this track has a lot of action. I mean, you get around here pretty quick from a lap time standpoint, and given the fact that we have a 45-minute window to work in, these drivers are going to have to hustle tonight.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm excited about, and again, this might just be a me issue, is that we're racing to a time limit. One of the things when I'm not here at PTR TV is I commentate a lot of endurance racing, and I'll tell you, it's a different mindset, I think, really, to run to that time limit than it is to run to a lap count. Maybe that's, again, just a me issue here, but that is how I look at it. That's how I feel about it. And I'm really excited to see how the drivers adapt to it, because it's especially unique in NASCAR. And if any of these drivers have experience with any sort of endurance road course racing, I think they're going to come out a little bit better here. I will also tell you guys that one Mr. David Schildhaus is feeling very good coming into today's race and has already messaged me saying we might be getting that 3P and that dinner that we were promised.
Well, we might, but I'll tell you, look at that timing and scoring pylon right now. Cody Harris is way above the competition. He ran a 1:35.7. That is nearly 1.5 seconds up on Justin Fuller in second, Mark Jorgensen in third, and then your boy Schildhaus was there in fourth. He's close, but I would like to know where that pole sitter found nearly 2 seconds on the rest of the competition, because that was a big, big difference.
It's a very, very interesting run there to see that big difference here and see where those times vary, because again, I think some of it is a little bit of comfort level. I do think track limits are going to come into play here in iRacing, unlike they do in real life. That's a topic for a podcast, of which this is not. But Kevin, I got to ask you, I know in real life they set up those massive barriers. Here we've got massive sausage curbs that can honestly flip the car if you're not careful. How do you feel about those?
Yeah, I think these drivers are going to have their hands full in the early going. They really need to make sure they stay on the track. The tires are slippery for the first 2 laps, and then as they get heat built up, the car gets better grip. But on the long run, and we don't anticipate that in the 45-minute window, drivers will need to pit for tires or fuel. So I think the car is going to lose a little grip. You're going to need to feather the throttle and not take the car out of the racetrack by buzzing the tires. And to your point, one of the things they have to do, I call them the turtles. They really have to watch those turtles. You want to get into a rhythm at this racetrack, and going through the S, you're left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, left, left. They really need to make sure that they don't clip them, because it unbalances the car and it could just make a mess of the S's.
It's very, very easy to mess that section up, and it's very, very hard to comfortably and consistently nail that section, even when you're cutting things off right there at turn 6 and then hooking 6A, 6B. It's still hard, guys, I will tell you. And when we look at our weather here today, I mean, I don't think we could ask for better weather to be running this. There's not a lot of wind like there traditionally is here at COTA. It's not super hot here in Texas. We're virtual time 4:20 p.m., 65 degree air, 66 degree track. Andre, I don't think you could ask for better weather conditions here.
No, they're going to have a lot of grip, which is what you want at these road courses. One of the biggest things is going to be who can get out of these corners the fastest. Obviously, with COTA being the way that it is, there's a lot of sharp corners, a lot of hairpins, and if you can get the power down a little bit quicker and have a little bit less wheel spin, that's going to greatly improve your lap times. And these boys should have all the grip in the world with this next-gen car in the cooler temps. Now, if it was 112 degrees, it'd be a different story, but these boys are racing in ideal conditions.
Absolutely. We're following here with Anthony Savignano, who is just running through. Here's the big fun part. This is one of the things we're going to talk about here. This tricky turn 1 as it stands. It's that hard left-hand hairpin. It's real easy to mess this up. I'm actually going to just put the drone up here for a minute so we can enjoy it. And you see it's a very, very tight angle that comes up from the hill. You have to be very careful with it when you go through turn 1, because you can end up 3, 4, 5 wide. And when you come through that turn, well, Kevin, you and me both know there's not enough room in turn 1 to go 3, 4, 5 wide.
Yeah, I think a lot of these drivers know that the first mission is to come down that front straightaway and get through turn 1. And you know, the other thing that I know about this racetrack is sometimes drivers getting away. It's just the fact of the matter. I believe our front runners will be so fast compared to the back markers in the field that we're going to see cars get lapped. And as the front runners come, it's not easy to communicate which way the slower car is going to go. I believe we're going to see a lot of conflict between faster cars and slower cars tonight. But you know what? First one they have to get past is turn 1, going into that hairpin turn. And it's a blind corner. We saw yesterday in the Cup race that Ross Chastain tagged Elliott on the entry, and it's just a byproduct of the angle of attack going in that corner.
That it is. We're going to hop on board here with Charles Van Schaik for these final 30 seconds, who is bringing his car through just this back half of the track, kind of just cruising through. Here's that hard left-hand hairpin coming around. Turn 12 is what it's actually called if you know the full layout. You go 6A, 6B, and then turn 12. Technically, you would call this turn 7, and then 8, 9, 10. This third sector, as it's known in Formula One, is really kind of its own challenge here. Andre, only 10 seconds left. Any big predictions here for this race today?
Boy, it's hard to predict just because of that turn 1 that you guys talked about. I mean, it almost reminds me a little bit of Supercross. You know, you got these guys all lined up at the gate, and when they get to that corner, it's always a question of who's going to make it out first, who's going to get the whole shot. Normally, that's not really a concern in NASCAR, but when we've got a track that's wide enough to go, 10 wide and an angle that has them coming to a standstill, they tend to cluster up a little bit like Supercross, and even if you're the pole sitter, you might not come out of turn 1 the leader. So I can't really make any predictions, but the one prediction I will make is that whoever is in the front is going to drive it in deep. They're going to have to drive defensively.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun to watch here. And of course, if you enjoy this, make sure you like and subscribe. I want to give a big thank you to everyone who has tagged along, because we just passed 1,500 subscribers on YouTube, which is a milestone that I had set to do by the end of summer. And we've knocked it out before the first 3 months of the year. So thank you to everyone for that. And with that being said, let's go ahead and run through this PTR TV starting lineup. Cody Harris and Justin Fuller are going to be rounding out our front row here as they go. And then we're going to move on into into row 2, if I can click the right buttons, and it's Mark Jorgensen Jr. and David Schildhouse. Again, 2 for 2 David is. Let's see if he can make it a three-peat here in the Sim 500. Stephen Miles in 5th, David Comstock in 6th, Wesley Donaldson in P7, Jason Karlovich in P8, Robert Friery the third in P9, and Josh Parker in 10th. Brian Macklin P11, Anthony Savignano in P12, Anthony Calantoni in P13th, and Thomas George in P14. Charles Van Schaik finds himself in 15th place, and then in 16th place is going to be Tyler Dalton. From there we go EJ O'Rourke and Jose Gonzalez, Bentley Glasser and Joe Hudson, Stoney Benfield, DeAndre Kane 21st, 22nd, Jason Pick in 23rd, and Nelson Rivera in 24th. From there we're going 25th place, which is going to bring us Eric Arnold, Charles Woods, Patrick Colby, Doug Roth in 28th. I want to make sure I get through this grid before they go through. Jimmy Coleman, who is from my hometown, I now have a fan favorite here, and Joey Gattina, the boss man, in 30th. Glenn Campbell, John Fowler, Kevin Stone, Randy Yoakum, and Brian Wortman, the 35 drivers that have opted to take on this wonderful, wonderful track of Circuit of the Americas. Kevin, I didn't know I had a guy from my hometown in this league.
Jimmy Coleman, he's a legend. I'll tell you what a great driver he is. He's been around forever, and I love to see when Jimmy Coleman shows up. It's always a blast to have him in the field.
I may or may not have just doxed myself by saying my hometown, but you know what? I think that's fine, because if many a country music artist can go through and take a photo on the bridge in my hometown, I think I can shout out my hometown here. But we'll see who is going to be the Austin, Texas favorite here when we go through. We're going to be green flag here for round 3 of Sim 500, and we are underway as soon as they hit that second start-finish line for 45 minutes here of Circuit of the America. We get it away. Let's get it straight up into turn 1. Let's see how they do here. Into turn 1, we're going to go 3 wide just for the giggles. Let's see who gets away. It looks like everybody very well getting around, and everybody going through. I said it way too soon. There's some big checkups back in the back. Everybody trying to get their cars underway. People facing backwards. That's going to be a turn 1 to unpack.
I believe your boy who promised us a dinner if he won was in that race, I think, or in that wreck. I think I saw Schildhouse among others. We'll have to see if we can dial up a replay. For the time being, Justin Fuller gets the lead ahead of Cody Harris in that 95, and Wesley Donaldson in the 91 is sitting P3. A little bit of a gap back to Brian Macklin, but everybody working their way through the S's, trying to recover from that turn 1 trauma as they head down. Oh, we got more tire smoke. Bit of a lockup from the Mountain Dew machine. Couldn't quite make out which number car that was, but and the number 6 as well, having some issues. That's Thomas George in that Ford. 35 years old, having a little bit of trouble there with the lockup, and that is something, Kevin, they're going to deal with a ton, especially with the colder temps. They're going to have more grip. They're going to get greedy on these corner entries, but this next-gen car, it loves to wheel hop. It loves to go from no brakes at all to suddenly you are locked up.
Yeah, these drivers also have messed around with their brake bias, trying to get the perfect setup to get the car to stop, and we've seen off-track excursions for a number of drivers in this. First lap, Doug Roth was against the barrier over there. We saw the 6 with his problem. That initial start was the 88 of Mark Jorgensen Jr. getting into Schildhouse, and now as they start to spread out with Fuller leading the pack right now, they will eventually get heat in the tires and settle in. I think we're going to see some amazing racing here, side by side and nose to tail throughout the pack down the front straightaway. They're 2 by 2 by 2 all the way through, right around that 25th, 26th position. And your leader out front, though, clean sailing for Justin Fuller. He's in the S's and heading into the shortcut that cut the old track off.
Look at just how slow, and there's the 17 just getting loose on the exit of turn 1 and going around off into the barrier. That's some right front damage, very, very hard on that car if I've seen it. Look at Justin Fuller is just cruising, feeling very comfortable, you can tell here, around a road course. Cody Harrison second, Wesley Donaldson in third. And really, you don't see a challenge until Brian Macklin is really where we're seeing the pack get together. And Patrick Colby has had a bit of a moment here. There's been a lot of moments. We'll get replays dialed up here in just a second, guys, and get some run through once we can kind of see some cars going. But everyone's kind of trying to get it together here, trying to get things going. And really, those top 5 have gotten into the rhythm, but I feel like everyone in that mid pack is really trying to push it.
And it's so tough, especially with the S's. You know, I think back to what Kevin said pre-race. He was talking about how when you go into those S's, one little mistake really gets you out of rhythm, and it snowballs, because when you mess up one section of the entry of the S's, well, now your exit is messed up, which means the entry to the next one is messed up, and it's so difficult. If you don't get into a rhythm at these road courses, you'll wind up making mistake after mistake, and then you get panicked. You get in your own head, you say, look, I'm losing a bunch of time. They're driving off into the sunset. What more can I do about this? And then you start driving harder, which results in a few more mistakes. So you really just got to calm down. Sometimes slow is fast, and we are seeing quite a bit of separation, which is good for these guys because it'll give them a little bit of breathing room, give them the ability to just kind of get in their own little world, start clicking off some laps, maybe get in the zone.
Guys, we have already had a lot of moments come through here. Lots of off tracks, lots of moments. It's just every off track is just racking up. These guys, I really worry, are going to end up with some issues, more on penalty points than anything else. Looks like Jimmy Coleman having a little bit of a slow moment here through the S's. We check in with him. He's kind of doing okay here near the back of the pack. Let's see if we can get that race start dialed up here and see if we can get a little idea of how that turn 1 happened.
Yeah, better late than never. I would like to know exactly who all was involved and how it transpired. I mean, I think we know the how. It's turn 1. We've seen it at COTA a million times, but the specifics of it we will figure out here on the PTR TV instant replay. Going it back to turn 1, lap 1. It started out so decently. Brad preemptively said we got through it, but unfortunately, we're not through it, Harry. We had a few issues. And as we wait for it to dial up,
and we're trying to dial it up here. This is the fun of
the dial up. Somebody picked up the phone. The dial up connection.
Yeah.
Shut down.
You know how that goes, guys. All right, we got this race start queued up. Let's get things going here on the PTR TV replay. So this was turn 1, and well, I don't think I need to really tell you how it happened.
Oh,
There was a lot. That's about all I got for you. There was a lot. Let's cue this back one more time here. We'll jump back. This is going to be the shot here. The overhead shot is really where you see it. And look here, kind of mid-pack, really 5th place. The number 30 jumps out there very quickly on the race start, looking to make a move. That is going to be that Castrol Edge, number 81, trying to make a dive. And, well, I mean, worst goes to worst.
He made a dive, all right.
He definitely did. And
it was a dive.
Look at that. You got cars sitting backwards back in the back going through. The number 20 ran wide there, my boy. Looks like no dinner for us, guys, but he was trying to do something there. And then, well, they did good to get it going up until turn 12 is really where the next bit of action happened. Looks like we've had a couple more moments here while we've been in replay. A couple drivers have had some moments here. It looks like there was another big moment here on lap 3 involving David Schildhouse and some other people. Not sure what may have happened. That's the 41 running wide off track, and then everybody back and going. So not sure exactly what's happened with them here, but some drivers having some moments. We're going to jump back here to live pictures, and let's check in to see exactly where we're back up to here as we come back here live. Take a look here. We're watching currently back in P16, guys, and well, this is Nelson Rivera and Tyler Dalton trying to chase each other down.
Yeah, talking about Tyler Dalton, season start has just been abysmal for him. Surprise for the season. Tyler Dalton, 23rd in points. And then up in front of him, a couple of cars, is Joe Hudson, who's sitting 3rd in points after a 2nd place finish last week. Again, no one would guess that would be the case, but Tyler able to dodge that first incident out in turn 1 that we saw him go wide and sneak through it. And right now he's just looking to see if he can have a clean race coming out of COTA and heading to Phoenix.
We're not even 10 minutes into this race yet.
No, there's still a lot of racing left, and he's got a lot of positions he could gain. And again, with Tyler Dalton, it's been a weird season because realistically, if his results showed the talent he's driven with, he would be a lot higher up in points. He's led a lot of laps. He's shown himself to be a talented driver. Just had a lot of bad luck, and now 17th here at COTA with about 36 minutes to make up some positions. He's got plenty of time. And we'll see where he winds up. We are following along with another snake-bitten driver, it would seem, the number 2 of Robert Friery. He is currently in P6. This is a run he was looking for, ladies and gentlemen. He has had such bad luck at the 2 super speedways we opened the season on. I joked that he had a magnet in his car. He was attracting all of the chaos. But tonight, having a really great recovery for that number 2 so far. Don't want to give him the commentator's curse, so I won't sing his praises too highly. Just note he is doing pretty well. Now this battle for the lead, this is fun. Cody Harris started on the pole, had a really good qualifying time, but that turn 1, he took it a little bit conservative, and Justin Fuller took advantage of that, slipped ahead of him, and that's where he stayed. He had about a second advantage, but that second advantage has depleted down to about 0.5. And Cody Harris is within the range, I would say, of being in dirty air. He's within striking distance. He's just got to try to do everything he can to wait for an opportunity, just like what just happened. That 51 went a little bit wide, and if he was a little bit closer, he might have had a chance to maybe force him into a rough situation. But either way, great battle up front. And these two, this is the class of the field right here. Look at that timing and scoring pylon, ladies and gentlemen. Wesley Donaldson is 6.3 seconds back, and we've only made about 3 laps at this circuit, so, or probably about 5 laps at this circuit. So they are falling back, and these two are just setting the pace.
I have a feeling that these guys have some GT3 experience under their belt, or they've ran a lot of practice laps in the past week. Of course, no substitutions in the commentary booth, no driver substitutions allowed this week, so that way you can't just throw in a road course spectacular driver specifically just to run your car this week, get you a good points haul and go. Although I do like watching the Shane Van Gisberg footwork, so I wouldn't have been mad if we had seen someone out there have the foot cam doing the heel toe, all the things as they go through. Would have been fun to watch here. Justin Fuller, definitely fast, but the one thing I will say with Justin Fuller is that it seems like he's a little more liberal with those track limits than Cody Harris is. Cody Harris doing a really good job, in my opinion here, Kevin, of keeping the car in the white lines, well, really on the painted surface. And Justin Fuller, very willing to run that car wide and keep a little bit of pace in it.
Yeah, coming into this race, we were having the conversation about NIS, which is the iRacing weekly series for this type of race car, and you're really restricted to the track. If you drop a wheel off into the red zone, you get an X, and X is not good. It doesn't mark the spot. You'll end up getting disqualified if you get too many of them. So most of the drivers who learn this racetrack often stay in between the markers, so to speak, but Justin, he's liberally using all the runoff areas. He's able to run way out wide, use whatever space he wants, where a total different tale of the tape for Cody Harris. He's staying between the lines, so to speak. And one thing I see when looking at the two styles, Harris, a lot smoother, a lot straighter, not as much slide on the car. And I think in the long run, over this 45 minutes, you're going to see that possibly Harris is going to have a better car in the end, as it really looks like Fuller's hustling the car. Now, sometimes when you hustle the car, it really gets it around the corners and scoots. And when you're looking at the fastest lap so far, it's a 1 minute 36 second lap put by Cody Harris. So even though he doesn't look like he's up on the wheel as much as he is, he's clearly fast. As soon as I say that, he jumps out. And well, you look at these guys. So far, I think it's an outstanding race, and I don't think it's going to be that long before we see these leaders catch the back end of the field.
Absolutely. We're 15 minutes. Well, we're 13 minutes into the race here. Let's make sure we're accurate with it. And the gap back to Doug Roth here. We'll check in with last place. Doug Roth not having a great time. And then Randy Yoakum in the pits 4 laps down. Doug Roth is our runner on track. He is currently minute 32 back off the leaders. And they're running minute 36s. So here's him. There's your race leader. Again, there's him. So we are hitting the back of the pack here, really. Stony Benefield is a bit further up, so we're going to start seeing how these guys really navigate these slower cars around. We've had a couple more moments, guys, so once we get through this lap traffic, I am going to queue us up a couple more replays here, assuming that the dial-up internet cooperates with the dial-up internet.
Yeah, I think they caught him at a pretty good place going into this corner. He should just kind of pull off to the side, let them navigate, and he does. That was ideal situation, but a huge lockup from the race leader. Justin Fuller goes way wide in the corner. That's going to allow Cody Harris to pull up right next to him side by side, but unfortunately not able to close the deal just yet into the S's. We'll see which of these two leaders gets a better run. Now, this is not real life. You are not able to cut through those corners like they were doing on the TV broadcast in real life, but either way, they're going to stay hooked at the bumper, and now the pressure's on for this 51. He had a comfortable gap. He was pulling back away from Harris, but that one mistake put him back in the danger zone. So he's got to look in that mirror. He's got to hit his marks.
Absolutely. Hit those marks time after time after time. And while these guys are having their time trying to hit some marks, let's go dial up a couple of replays of some things that have happened while we've been following them here. It looks like John Fowler got a meatball flag somewhere, and well, there's what happened with John Fowler. Let's go back a little bit further and see if we can't see what actually happened. And it looks like the car just hooking right, taking things out. So not having a great time there for John Fowler. It looks like he had to jump to the pits. Eric Arnold here having a moment as well and coming around, not having a good time for him and spinning around, burning those rear tires out through turn 12, just trying to get it going. Celebrating early, I think, for where he's at in the race. Jason Pick has had a moment here in that number 53 Newegg machine. Oh, and he gets tapped by the number 28. Just a little add a little bit of misery there. Randy Yoakum had a moment early on. I'm not sure what happened with him, but let's see if we can tell what happened. It looks like he's just very slow there on the backstretch and just actually stopped it. And this is John Fowler. This is a separate moment from what we saw earlier. And again, the same thing, just slides a bit, thankfully misses the wall. And now, while we've been watching this is Wesley Donaldson just happened. And the classic go left to go right to go right to go left. So that, not at all what we want to see, and we'll take it back here to live images. And this is Circuit of the Americas, 15 minutes in. Let's check back in with our race leaders, guys.
Justin Fuller's out front right now. He's pulled a little bit of a gap, actually, over Cody Harris. Cody slipped a couple times here or there, and there's the biggest lead that we've seen in quite some time, about 10 car lengths lead for the 95 of Fuller. Fuller now coming up to the back bumper of Eric Arnold, who you saw do that spin cycle just a bit. Let's go loop-de-loo. And here comes Justin Fuller to his back bumper. And to the point of these leaders so far, they've caught lapped traffic in good places, but here's a little trickier. He's still able to get underneath Fuller's Arnold's number 31 and head to the front straightaway, and now you have a lapped car between the two of them. And I'm looking through where David Schildhouse is. He was back in the 20s. He is up to 8th. And one thing we noted during practice, everybody went out and ran a lot of laps. Schildhouse never pitted. He put 35 laps in, more than anybody else. His lap times were consistent in the 130s, close to what Cody Harris was running before. And from a speed standpoint, 136.457 last time by. That's right on the heels of what the Cody Harris top speed is in this race. So don't count that 20 out yet. He is coming.
Yeah, he definitely is. And it is the kind of the meta on iRacing. It has been for quite some time, where with this next-gen car, for some reason, when you take it to a road course, it just does not wear out the tires. I have no idea why that is. I don't know what the physics behind it are, but I watched a full-length 100% Cup Series League race at Sonoma last year, which was a variation of this same tire model. They did not take tires that entire night. So realistically, the only concern for these drivers would be fuel. I've seen a few races here in the Cup Series this weekend on iRacing, and very rarely do I see those jack stands go up.
See, that's interesting to me because, again, a lot of my road experience and my COTA experience is GT cars and Formula One cars. And traditionally, COTA is a track that isn't very nice to tires. So I don't know what it is, but clearly just something works right with these cars when you turn them left and right, and it just balances better. I don't know what it is. But tell you one thing I do know, David Schildhouse here is a driver on a mission, has worked his way all the way back up. 7th place is right on the rear of Robert Frary III, and is possibly going to have a 6th place going up into turn 1.
Yeah, what I see from a tire standpoint is you start to see what Schildhouse is experiencing. The car will buzz the tires. If you turn left here on turn 1, as you jump into the throttle, if you go too hard, you'll buzz it. The car will step out in the back, and they have to be really careful. And you start to wag the tail a little more as the run goes through. You don't see the tire wear in percentages, but you do feel a little bit more of a greasy feel to the way the car drives. But you know what? In this racetrack, a lot of times swinging the car through the S's and around this shortcut to the backstretch, you tend to find that the car actually responds better for you hooking around some of these sharper corners with the car wagging the back end around. So some drivers actually like the feel of the worn tires when they get around this racetrack.
Not what I would have
expected. Sometimes this next-gen car with the live rear axle, with the independent rear suspension, it can have more grip in the rear end, but sometimes that makes it feel a little bit tighter, and you can't really flick the car into the corner. So if you can actually get the tires worn out a little bit, you're exactly right, Kevin. You can get it to slide through that corner, carry just a little bit more momentum, rather than putting all that weight on one tire. So that is something they will feel. Some drivers might like it to be a little bit looser. And I will say, as we're following along with Schildhouse, he is just abusing these track limits. He is hopping every curb. He's cutting every apex. When he came out of 6A and 6B, I think the Armco barrier, you couldn't have put a piece of paper between him and that barrier. He was just right on it. He's doing everything he can to gain. He's in traffic. He's making passes for position and still gaining time on the leaders. The only problem is that, hey, it's a 27-second deficit. We've got 24 minutes remaining. I'm doubtful that there will be any sort of yellow flags in this race. So the chances of him getting to the lead, pretty minimal. But as for minimizing the damage to his points, he is saving a lot of points today with this drive through the field.
I'm loving this, guys. All I can say is I'm loving this. Schildhouse is pushing. The one thing I will say is very few drivers, it seems, looking at the timing, you got several drivers that haven't been able to, quote unquote, set a best lap because several drivers, every single lap, are getting at least one track limit ding somewhere. So they are very much being a little liberal with the definition of keeping the car on the road. I grew up in a time where the track limits were the white lines, and that was where you were at. And well, very clearly, if you throw a cup car on a road course, they take a slightly different definition to it here. As we continue to follow David Schildhouse, who is a man on a mission, there's a pass up the inside, now into the top 5. At one point was the very back of the field. I tell you what, this is a driver who is not messing around, and also who's not messing around. I want to jump back up here to Cody Harris, because Cody Harris is caught within a half second of Justin Fuller. At one point, that gap was over 2 seconds.
Yeah, they were just going through some of the slower back markers and had a tricky spot of the racetrack to get to them. Fortunately for them, they got to one of the hairpins and were able to cut the course just a little bit. You know, talking about going off the course, these drivers do see warnings from the software that tells them they have to give back time if they cut the course too much. But as you go through the S's and slow up to get through them, you're giving back that time. So a lot of times they can fudge it a little bit. They can go off the margins like we saw Schildhouse doing before. And by the time he gets through some of the slower parts of the course, he's given back the time that he's gained, and they could be a little more liberal with it. But I think Justin Fuller, I have to wonder if he's even looking out that rearview mirror, as we got one car off the racetrack right in front of them. They're coming through down to turn number 20, the final turn to come to the front stretch. There is one car blocking their progress, and Harris almost looked like, well, it's Joey Jattina. Jattina, that's another thing that we've not talked about is you're getting warnings that the drivers are coming, the leaders are telling you to get out of the way, and it's difficult to navigate the trickier parts of this racetrack as Harris alongside here looking to see if he can get the lead. You're trying to both make the corner and get the heck out of the way, which is easier said than done.
Oh, and then he had to lift right there. He was at the quarter panel, but he knew that if he didn't lift for that switchback in the S's,
right angle.
Yeah, it was not the right angle, but it was definitely close, and that puts the 51 in a state of alarm where he now knows, look, Cody Harris not messing around. He is at the bumper. I make one slip up, he is there. So these two have been battling all night long. The gap has waned and then come back together, and it's fluctuated for sure, but at the end of the day, they keep finding one another on the track, extending their gap over third place Anthony Savignano in the 99. He's 13 seconds back. Schildhaus in fifth. He's 26.5 seconds back, so still about as far back as he was when we were following him. But, I mean, looking at this rear bumper cam, look at this big charge from the 95. A little bit of lap traffic up ahead. Going to move out of the way, not come into play whatsoever. I think really Harris is really good at charging the entry of the corners, and he's really good under braking. But then, of course, if you're going to be fast in, you're going to be slow out, and the exit is where that 51 really makes up his time. He does pull away, and that's important at this track because there is a lot of slow corners that wind up taking you to very long straightaways, just like this, the front straightaway. If you get a better exit, that speed carries all the way through. But look at this big lockup from the race leader. It is almost an exact replay of what we saw a few laps ago. It's going to put them side by side. Cody Harris on the outside, but it will be the inside. And I think the 51 has to concede that position finally. Not able to defend this time through the S's. New race leader in the 95.
Here's my question now. Can Cody Harris keep this move going? Can he keep this going through, hold this lead, and pull out a bit of a gap? Because Justin Fuller is going to be pushing just as hard as he was before. Big thing with Justin Fuller is not locking up those rear tires and making sure he's keeping things together. He's got to keep the pressure on, but he's also got to watch himself. And for Cody Harris, it's all about the blue flags and getting that slower traffic out of the way. Blue flags are a controversial topic in any series, but here in NASCAR, they're going to be yelling, get out of my way on the radio real quick. We go through Cody Harris, Justin Fuller. They're going to keep this battle going. And look at this. Even with them battling, they've got 14 seconds on that number 99 back in third place. 14 seconds with 19 minutes left to go, guys. That is a huge, huge gap.
Yeah, as we see Cody Harris stretch it out, I think it's time that his straight runs are going to pay off. I agree with the commentary about Justin Fuller. He really gets a good run off the straightaway, but the slip and slide that he's shown, especially locking him up over in turn one, has cost him, and Cody Harris starting to leg it out. How about this run for Anthony Savignano, running third right now, Wesley Donaldson tucked in behind them. This has been a season where we've seen the newcomers, that's what I'm going to call them, drivers that we've not seen on a steady basis over the last couple seasons, step in and make a very good showing of themselves. You got Cody Harris, who's running with us full-time for the first time, and Anthony Savignano running in third. And then you got two regulars in Justin Fuller and Wesley Donaldson. And, well, there's a little news. David Schildhaus has just moved around Donaldson into that fourth position.
Yeah, moving up the running order indeed. Still a 28-second gap, so he's fallen back a little bit more since the last time we checked up on that turtle heavy. And got to be careful. That actually can damage the car if it comes down too hard. And then you will be dealing with some serious handling issues. But when you're cutting the corners like he is, that is an inherent risk. Again, there's just not enough time. He might be a little bit quicker than the leaders when he gets in open air, but that time he lost in turn one, they have been too great to overcome. Now, just doing some quick head math, if they're running in the 1:36s, it's a 45-minute race. That's somewhere in the range of 31, 32 laps, and I cannot recall. I apologize. I cannot recall if this league runs a full fuel tank or if they reduce the capacity. If they're on a full fuel tank, though, There we go. 100% fuel, 2 cents. Thank you, Brad. Very
You're
kind.
welcome.
They will be very close on fuel because I think a run here is about 34 laps.
It is going to be kind of close here. I'm showing that we're at about 11 laps to go here currently for the leader, Cody Harris, who has just decided to, dump the weights out of the car, take off here. Whatever lead shot he had in that car, he's opened up the trap door, dumped it away, and is just taking off. And if you know that reference, good job. Thank you for catching that reference. Cody Harris here, Justin Fuller going through again, that big gap back. I really want to jump back for Robert Fryery here, who is still sitting in P7 in that number 2 car and still kind of getting some pressure on. We've had a few more moments here in the background, guys. We're going to queue up a couple more replays here and see if we can't find what has happened. This is going to be Bentley Glasser. This is that Mountain Dew car early on, and well, just a little bit too much curb on the inside. Gets the jump there. Wesley Donaldson had a moment early on. Let's see what this was. That's a spin there. That's a couple laps ago, and just taking it around. Somebody's trying to win the donut contest of the day, and it's not the winner. Another final corner crash. This is the number 43, and who just completely forgot to hit the brakes in. And then it looks like Eric Arnold having a moment here again. Final corner, sending it around. Eric Arnold, not the first time we've seen donuts from him, but that time he taps the wall.
Well, that explains why Wesley Donaldson dropped out of 4th to 5th, and even with that spin, he continues to have a good showing still in the top 5. How about Stephen Miles in that number 24 Sim500 Camaro, currently running in 14th? Good run for him. As there's little battles going on. He's tagged on to the back end of the number 26 of Jose Gonzalez. There are little races going on all over this racetrack, and if you look at the overall map, there are cars like a conveyor belt through the entire race course here at COTA, and that's kind of cool to see. No yellows, so they just have to hustle whenever they have a problem, and everybody's doing a really good job keeping the cars on the racetrack tonight.
Yeah, it's been relatively calm. Again, a few single car incidents, and of course the turn 1 calamity that we all kind of knew was coming to begin with. But other than that, it's been good, clean racing. We've seen some good battles everywhere throughout the field. As we follow along with Miles, he's going to send it in deep. Pull up alongside that number 26 of Jose Gonzalez, and I think he's going to get the position there. That was... What did he make up right there, Brad? Was that about 15 car lengths in one corner?
It was at least 15, if not more. That was, yeah, that was a lot. I enjoyed that, though. That was, that was good. I'm not going to lie. It was, I always like when drivers get brave about that dive through, Andre. When they decide to get a little brave and just let her rip, tater chip, make it work. It's always fun. I do want to check in here with some drivers we haven't talked about a lot tonight. Charles Van Shake in 9th place here. We haven't talked about him a lot. Thomas George in 11th place, still chasing down Anthony Calantoni, P11 here. They're running through. Lots of drivers have kind of found just their own pace in the field here to move around and sort of hang out and keep things together. Everyone from 20th place back has been lapped at least one lap, if not more. So yeah, Andre, I'm at the position here where it's really getting fun to watch these guys run these cars around. As you said, Kevin, any battles you could pick. But Andre, I gotta ask, what's going to be the big battle to watch right now, you think?
Well, I think these two that we're following is a pretty good battle. And I mean, looking at the scoring and timing, I think Kevin's comment about it being a bit of a conveyor belt right now is very accurate. They are really kind of spread out. The battles are far and few between. One thing that is catching my eye, it's not necessarily a battle, is just the fact that Cody Harris has somehow pulled out to 2.5 seconds. It is a big lead that he's extended over Justin Fuller. And I think that really shows how nice he was playing when he was behind that 51. I think he had the faster car. I think he was definitely on pace to lead this thing. But the 51 made the car wide, and it was just really good, respectful racing between these two. I've seen in some leagues where, you know, the faster guy comes up to the leader and he says, look, I'm not waiting, I'm not playing games. They feel entitled to that position, but not these two. You know, they raced it out fair and square. Justin Fuller falling back a little bit here. And I think part of it, too, isn't necessarily that Cody Harris is just that much better at this racetrack. I think we're seeing a bit of a snowball effect. Going back to another point that Kevin made, all of those lockups we're seeing almost every lap from Justin Fuller, that is eating away at those tires. They got to be octagons by now, and while the tires don't usually wear at these road courses with this car on this model, if you keep locking them up, you are going to feel it. And I think he's feeling it now because his lap times have eroded just a little bit from what they were at the start of the race. He's lost about 7/10 on average, so whereas Cody Harris is running the exact same lap times he qualified with, Justin Fuller getting those lockups not helping.
I have to say, in his defense, though, he still halted a pretty good wheel. You could see Cody Harris out, and one of the things I think happened when he was out front is he was hustling the car to stay out front. After Harris got by, he gave chase to him, and then he finally seemed to settle down. Harris broke away when he kept slipping a tire trying to chase him down, and I think at some point, if I could go inside Justin Fuller's head, he had a moment where he just said, "Look, I gotta let him go. I gotta concentrate on having good laps." And he's been putting together a good number of laps, staying somewhat in contact with Harris every once in a while. He gets bad traffic, and scary. The other, just about 4 laps ago, Tyler Dalton going in his turn to 15. A little too high in there, car went around, and Tyler was just about ready to get here, come back out. Justin Fuller was on easy, really had to swing wide to get out, and then the 19 is in the racetrack, and not allowed Cody Harris to get this big lead in Harris right now. So, Fuller's still holding his own. I'm not sure if he's got enough left in the tank to run down Harris at this point, but still pretty respectable run, and if he settles down, and one slip, Cody Harris puts everything back in perspective.
We'll get this.
Go ahead.
Get this replay queued up. This is that Tyler Dalton moment that we looked at that you were just talking about here, Kevin. Get that replay up. This is, I believe, the exact moment you were talking about.
There's Harris going by, and you see that he had to go really wide to go around Tyler Dalton, where Harris is able to sneak underneath him, and that's where the bigger gap came. As you can see how much there's probably 10 car lengths after that incident.
And I'll tell you what happened right there. Earlier in this race, you mentioned that Cody is giving him the line, whereas Justin Fuller is track extending. Both completely valid strategies, both valid race lines. But right there, because Cody Harris is staying off of the curbing, he was never any risk of getting that 19. Whereas Justin Fuller had been track extending. By the time he could see the exit of the turn, it was a car, so he had to go really wide. It actually wound up fighting with it. Kind of interesting.
Tyler Dalton trouble here. I mean, 23rd points. He needed a good night here. Didn't look good in practice, and he's just struggling to get through the night. I'm imagining that he would love to just cross off these first races and reset for next week and see if he can have a good summer stretch, put himself back into the equation, because so far this has been a business season for the driver who was in the hunt. He led the point championship earlier last year for a good part of the season and was top 10 contender all through 2024 campaign, and his 2025 is on the way. Thought it was going to go.
No, and I think that's a bit of a result of just the interesting schedule that NASCAR has provided this year. We are simulating with this week. It's probably, I don't want to say it's the craziest schedule NASCAR has ever had, because I remember, well, not personally, I wasn't around, but I know that back in the day, the season opener used to be at Riverside, a road course.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily unprecedented, but in my lifetime, I'm 27 years old. We've never opened with 2 super speedways and then a road course. We've not had a single traditional oval. And so a lot of these guys, that's their bread and butter. That is what they're good at. I'm going to assume that's a bit of a talent for Tyler Dalton in that 19. And it's a talent that 3 races in, he's not had an opportunity to stretch his legs in.
Ooh, I see Josh Parker around, backs it into the barrier. The 81 Castrol Edge Ford not having a bad night running 12th, but he just pounded the fence over there off of 6A coming down that straightaway. Just didn't get through the corner very well.
Get that replay queued up for you guys, and big old send around, and man, that's gonna hurt.
That is the kind of hit that ended Kurt Busch's career. Makes you thankful we are in sim, not in real life.
You can say that again.
Daniel Suarez moment there. He jumped across that little corner, got the car unsettled. Is that not the same spot where Suarez had his moment?
I think you're right. Yep. I think you are absolutely right.
I was at Pocono for that Kurt Busch crash. I was standing on the front stretch and got pictures of him sliding up against the fence. We had no idea that would be such a pivotal moment in his career.
Man.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really knew it was going to be the extent that it was. I mean, this next-gen car was such an unknown, and obviously if this had been a Gen 6 or even a car tomorrow, that hit probably wouldn't have been a career ender. But, you find things out about these cars, we improve them, we figure out the flaws, and then you add to the fact that Kurt Busch also has a family to think about and is not as spry as he used to be. Just a crazy situation, though, overall.
Looking at that 30 of Brian Macklin, he's currently running 6, knocking out a top 5. He needs a good recovery after not a very good start, and pretty talented sim racer here in his own right. Can win at any given place we go to, especially the super speedways, and showing up here, you never know, because we don't run a lot of these road courses, who has a pretty wheel when it comes to it. And Macklin's showing that he's got what it takes tonight to get himself possibly a top 5 by the time this is over.
You guys brought up a really good point talking about just the absolute, I'm going to describe it as chaos for these first 3 rounds, not being kind of the traditional what we're used to with NASCAR in any way, shape, or form, and us following through. Next week here, we go to Phoenix. I think that's going to be an interesting one to watch and see how that sort of, I don't even want to call Phoenix a more traditional track, because I almost don't feel like it is. And I know that's kind of a questionable one there. Throw a little asterisk on it, that I don't really think Phoenix, especially the way it is now, is a traditional track here. But it'll be interesting to see next week how these guys run and get through. We've seen a lot of different talent shine. Schildhouse, I think we can really say David Schildhouse has some pace, though, and the fact that he's fought up into 4th place looks good. We're seeing a lot of guys, a lot of places. Somebody's had some sort of a moment there. Look at the smoke there as the number 30 of Brian Macklin came through. I want to say that might have been the boss man there in the number 14 having a little bit of a moment.
Yeah, Joey Jattina just got passed by Brian Wertman, who is in the 24th position. It may not sound like much, but he started 35th shotgun on the field here tonight. And I was watching Brian in practice. He was consistent. The car looked pretty set in the racetrack. The Racing for Souls Camaro, I told Brian I thought he had a pretty good wheel, and he was looking at a top 20 tonight. He kind of sheepishly didn't want to admit to that, but as I watch him run around here tonight, he's having a pretty solid run in that number 74.
Yes, he is. He's having a really good run. And it's one of the things about these road courses that can definitely play into your hand if you're a patient driver. And Brian Wertman, just from what I've seen in the super speedway races that we've seen and what I've seen out of this 74, he seems to be a pretty patient guy. These road courses, the race will come to you, right? Other drivers are going to make mistakes. They're going to get caught up in stuff. They're going to get fatigued. If you just run your race and you turn your laps, you can make a really good points day, even if you don't necessarily feel the most confident around the corners and at this track. And so far, having a really good night in that 74 with only 3 minutes remaining, so it doesn't have to be patient too much longer.
Well, Cody Harris, he has put an exclamation point on getting around Justin Fuller. He's now out to 14 seconds as Fuller has dropped back considerably. In fact, I don't think there's enough time, but Anthony Savignano is 34 seconds, 36 seconds, something like that back, and Fuller's dropping back to him, and Schildhouse is almost right there. If Schildhouse and Savignano hustle, they might get to Fuller by the end of this thing if he continues to slide a little bit back, and it's possible Schildhouse could find himself in a second place finish tonight.
Yeah, Fuller having a moment there out of 6B, and then of course the number 49, the purple 49, having a moment through turn 12, sitting still, and then our race leader actually hit him there. Man, there's been some big moments. Here is one that we just missed by about half a second. This is going to be Jason Karlovich and Robert Friery having a little bit of it together there.
Oh, Friery having a really good night. Now, luckily, there's enough separation that I don't think that cost him too much in the grand scheme of things as far as points are concerned. He dropped down to P10, unfortunately, but still a better night than he's had at the
what Jason did there. He slowed down and let him have a little bit more of that track position back. That's a gentlemanly thing to do.
Absolutely. Good call.
Yeah, love to see that. A little bit of sportsmanship saying, hey, didn't mean to get into you there. Going to pull over, let this get sorted out. But Friery, again, he was in the top 5 earlier tonight, now down into 10th. And it is a pretty close battle. Within just a couple tenths between the car ahead of that number 2. That would be for position. And then another battle right here, the 23 and the 60. Talk about on the bumpers, getting on the tow hitch right there through those curbings. This is an interesting final lap for this bunch, but Cody Harris with a 15-second lead is going to work his way through the S's for the final time tonight. At this point, all he needs to do is just hit his marks, have a decent enough lap to bring it home. No pressure from behind. Absolutely no worries. Justin Fuller, 17 seconds back. Anthony Savignano, 32 seconds back in 3rd place. David Schildhouse made it up to 4th. He almost made it back to the podium. He's only 2 seconds behind Savignano, which is absolutely crazy to think about.
You know, coming into COTA, I kind of looked at it and I was like, I know this race is going to be good. And 45 minutes in, 28 laps in, the white flag is out. And really, for Cody Harris, once he got past Justin Fuller, it was just a league of its own. Justin Fuller had some strong defense, but in the end, Cody Harris was able to get the elbows out, get the pass done, get things going, and claim his win. He'll be the 2nd winner here in the series. And while Schildhouse might not get a three-peat, I think Cody Harris, this win is going to feel just as sweet. Coming through the final corner, we're going to go, and that number 95 will bring us across the line, and we'll win round 3 here of the Sim500 Cup Series presented by Cook's Landscape Group, and will get us a good win in. Justin Fuller coming through for 2nd place here. We'll bring it around downtown in that Cook's Landscape Group Toyota Camry, and we'll bring that number 51 across the line. And then again, such a large gap for those top 3. Once they got in the line, they really showed they knew what they were doing and took off with it. Anthony Savignano just way back, but hey, he's not done. Look who's just behind him there. Schildhouse almost by a second off the podium in 4th place. Anthony, though, 3rd place. David, 4th. And then we still have this battle back here starting in 7th with Jason Karlovich and just going through. Let's see how this 7th place battle shakes up.
Here.
Yeah,
the 84 of Cal and Tony got physical, and he had contact with the 2 of Friery, the 3rd. He also nicked into Charles Van Schaik. The 2 of them were side by side through part of that. This is a run to the finish for these 3 drivers.
They're not done.
No, they are not done. On the bumper, a little bit of contact. I think he... Oh, no!
Oh, that's going to cost him, unfortunately.
Friery into the 23 hard. We're playing ping pong. He straightens it out. He's going to get back to the line, and Friery gets hit.
Oh,
my goodness.
Right. That's what I said. This race at the end was crazy in this group. Through the S's, it looked like that race from Watkins Glen with Brad that... who won it? Ambrose won?
Yep, Marcus Ambrose.
It looked just like that.
Yeah, that was pretty similar. I was there for that race. The crowd was...
I was there too. Insane. That was an awesome race.
Yes, it was. Although I was a Kyle Busch fan, so it was not as awesome at the time for me. But looking back, definitely a great race. And I'll tell you what, the finish of this race was up there for those boys. It's a shame for Robert Friery. Had such a good night going. I mean, just really good day. Unfortunately, slipping through that running order, and then that last lap contact took him from P10 down to P14. So still not a bad points night, but really shook that up, as well as Thomas George, Charles Van Schaik. All those drivers were changing positions and shifting hands. So just a wild race to the finish there. Cody Harris asserting dominance. And I really think a big factor in Cody Harris winning this race and getting the lead that he did was avoiding the tire lockups. I never saw any plumes of smoke coming out from under the fender wells of that 95, and his car just maintained the speed throughout this race. His last lap was a 136.7, which was some drivers' qualifying times, whereas you look behind him, Justin Fuller's last lap, 137.7, 138.3 for Savignano, 139 for Donaldson. Cody Harris, he took care of that car, and it took care of him.
That he did. It was a great run there from Cody Harris, your unofficial race winner here. Justin Fuller, second place. Anthony Savignano, a third, 32 seconds back. And then we start getting into some closer gaps here. David Schildhaus, again, by almost a second, could have had that through. And then Wesley Donaldson in fifth. Brian Macklin in sixth, Jason Karlovich in P7, Anthony Calantoni in eighth, Stephen Miles in ninth, David Comstock rounds out your top 10. 35 drivers on the night. In 11th place was Josh Parker. Charles Van Schaik was in 12th. Thomas George, P13. Friery the third was in 14th. Jose Gonzalez in 15th. O'Rourke was in 16th. And then it was Bentley Glasser, Joe Hudson, Nelson Rivera, Tyler Dalton rounding out your top 20. 21st place, Patrick Colby. Jimmy Coleman was in 22nd. Brian Wortman in 23rd. 24th, Joey Gattina. And then Glenn Campbell in 25th. Charles Woods, 26th. DeAndre Kane, 27th. Jason Picken, 28th. Stoney Benefield, 29th. And Doug Roth in P20, rounding out your final five here. Eric Arnold, John Fowler, Randy Yoakum, Kevin Stone, and Mark Jorgensen Jr., your 35 drivers on the night. Guys, what do you say we pull in Cody Harris and let's have a quick word with him? Who wants to do the honors of interviewing the race winner?
Let you have it, Brad.
All right. Cody Harris, the race winner of the night. How does it feel to be the winner?
It feels pretty good. Usually with this car and road courses, I get around pretty well, but yeah, it was nice to get a win this early in the season and avoid the turn one chaos. I was just watching that back.
Yeah, turn one got a bit crazy there. I got to ask you about your battle with Justin Fuller. You were behind him for a good chunk of the race here. What kind of talk me through your thought process on trying to get that pass done, finally getting that pass done, and then trying to just dump the lead shot and disappear?
Yeah, I overcooked turn one, which let him by just a little bit. Actually, if you watch it back, I locked up the left rear because in that corner, the SUP would pick up the left rear tire a little bit. And then, yeah, he bumped into me a little bit. And then he got ahead of me. And then just with this car in the dirty air, it's hard to follow somebody. Plus, you lose all your reference points and whatnot. But yeah, I was just kind of biding my time, trying not to get my tires too hot behind him and hoping that he would make a mistake. And then eventually I was able just to set up a good pass as the tires got on and then got the clean air and then was able to drive off.
Well, man, once you took off, there was no stopping you. Do you like road courses over ovals, or kind of, do you have a lot of pace here? Did you think you were coming into a win tonight? I guess is the way I'm trying to phrase that question.
Yeah, from the league I ran last year, we always had some good battles with Matt Danson, Agnel Phillip, and I think Kevin King would join sometimes, who used to race here. So I've had good battles with those guys over the years, and yes, I do like the road courses quite a bit. I wish there were a few more on the schedule.
Awesome. And then, Cody, anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go celebrate this win, enjoy things here on this evening?
Yeah, just my friends and family that watch me do this every week and the different things I do on iRacing. And then the team that I'm with helps me with some of the Road to Pro side, although that's not a thing this year, but I've gotten a lot better over the years working with a good group of people. So thanks to those guys.
Awesome, Cody, man. Shout out to you. Congratulations on the win here tonight. And we'll see you next week in Phoenix.
Sounds good. See you guys. Thank you.
Well, guys, I don't see second or third place right offhand, and it kind of scares me a little bit. I'm not going to lie, to not see them just right up ready to chat. Usually the drivers are very quick to get up here and talk to us. I don't know where Justin Fuller or Anthony are.
I can kind of add for Justin Fuller that he's not a huge fan of this car, and I'm sure he's disappointed. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and I know he wanted to win this thing, but he's can hold his head high. He had an outstanding race, and I think he'll go back and look at this. And it's one thing I've seen from Justin is he's had these dominant races and then had something slip a little in the second half, and he comes back even stronger next time. So I would expect that if we don't get to talk to him, he's going to go back and look at this race and then come back even stronger next time and correct whatever it was he felt that he could have done better.
Absolutely. Andre, what's your final thoughts on this? Because I don't think we're going to get second and third place in. We'll give them another minute here, see if they jump up. But what were your thoughts about COTA overall?
It was pretty much exactly what I expected COTA to be. I mean, we had the turn one chaos, and then we had a track that just let the good drivers be good. These drivers that are good at road courses really showed their talent tonight. Cody Harris, Justin Fuller, class of the field, and then a few surprise standouts. Anthony Savignano ran really well, and David Schildhouse. I think that's the story of the race. Getting spun turn one all the way to the back of the field, and then if that start-finish line was after turn one, he might have made the podium. So, it was a great comeback by that number 20. Fortunately, he doesn't have to buy us dinner now, but unfortunately, the three-peat comes up just a little bit short.
Hey, you never know. He might buy us dinner anyways. We'll see if he's feeling generous. You never know. But a couple little housekeeping things to tie up here tonight. I do want to make sure we give a proper shout out to Team Conti for providing the setup here for Sim500 for Circuit of the Americas. Big thank you to them. Andre, Kevin, I want to make sure I give a big thank you to both of you for being here tonight. It's always fun to commentate Sim500. Again, make sure you like, subscribe. If you're a league looking to have your series broadcast here on Primetime Racing TV, make sure you check out PrimetimeRacingTV.com. Fill out our interest form, and we'll get back with you to talk about it. If you like what you see here, like and subscribe. We've got a busy week coming up here this week and a busy March. We've got about 20 broadcasts in 30 days this month, so plenty of action to come up on the channel. So if you like what you see, make sure you stick around. Guys, any final thoughts before we send this one off and enjoy our Monday evening?
Yeah, just one here. I got to say thanks to Cook's Landscape Group, who services 9 North Carolina counties in and around Concord. They proudly serve over 400 satisfied customers since 1999, and it is so welcome to have a title sponsor. And I think the crew did them well tonight, putting on an outstanding race here in Austin, Texas.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And on that note, we're going to end this stream off here at Circuit of the Americas. Be sure to join us next week at Phoenix. But on behalf of Kevin, on behalf of Andre, my name is Brad. We've taken you start to finish here tonight. Be sure to join us next week where we'll take you start to finish yet again. Good night.
Industries across the board utilize fleet trucks on a daily basis, from your local utility company to your grocery store, and many of these companies choose full-service fleet leasing. With a traditional lease, you're responsible for everything after you get the truck, but a full-service lease includes all the maintenance and other services at a set cost. Regardless of the scope or range of your fleet needs, Transervice will engineer a fully customized, full-service fleet leasing solution optimized to your requirements. From asset acquisition requiring no capital investment, to the engineering, configuration, and selection of your fleet equipment, to the people, facilities, and equipment to keep your fleet maintained and repaired. Transervice gives you everything you need, with advantageous fleet pricing based on our national account status, compliance expertise, inspections, licensing, permitting, personal property taxes, nationwide roadside service. We cover it all for you. Contact us today to learn why leading companies rely on Transervice for complete turnkey leasing solutions.